So hi grade 11, this will be a pre-recorded video involving a series of discussion about stoichiometry. So we will start with the first one, which will tackle more about the computation of molar masses. So as what I have mentioned to you during our synchronous discussion, knowing molar masses is very important because it's your foundation as you go with the next topics in General Chemistry 1 as well as General Chemistry 2 during your grade 12. So this is one of the basic. That's why in every or in different type of chemistry or in every branches of chemistry, molar masses are always involved. And it's really good if you are going to master this topic because then again, this is your foundation in general chemistry. So let's start first by identifying what do you mean by molar mass. So I have here a photo of the periodic table, the one that I gave you in the first days that we have in Gen Chem 1. And let's identify which numbers, okay, kasi medyo marami, which numbers in that particular periodic table is your molar mass. So as you can see, I have here an example which is carbon. So we know that carbon is actually one of the elements in the periodic table. It's one of the known elements actually. And that you can also see in the periodic table two numbers. Okay? So in this case, you have 6 and 12.011. So which of these two is your molar mass? Always remember that your atomic mass is always greater than your atomic number. So in this case, which is greater than which? It's actually 12.011. So that means your 12.011 is actually your atomic mass. And of course, all atomic numbers are in whole number. So medyo hindi kayo maguguluhan sa case na yan. So why is it important that you know what is the molar mass in the periodic table? Because you will be using that one in the next slide that we have in the computation of molar masses. So let's start. So it's very important that you know molar mass. So kung hindi nyo nag-gets to during synchronous discussion, then it's good that you're watching this video. So we have here a question. What is the molar mass of carbon dioxide? We know what is carbon dioxide. It's actually a covalent compound. It's it's the air that we breathe out during respiration and so on. So how are you going to compute for the molar masses? So let's focus there in our solution. So the first step is for you to identify what are the elements in the particular compound. So in this case, we have two elements, carbon and oxygen. All you have to do is to list them down, CO. Next is to put an equal sign. Next is to identify, after you identify what are the elements in the particular compound, identify next how many atoms are there in every element. So how many carbon do you see here? So we only have one. So 1. How about oxygen? We have 2. So there are 2 atoms of oxygen. So we are going to multiply them with its atomic masses. So what is the atomic mass of your carbon? All you have to do is to take a look at the value that you have in the periodic table. So please get your periodic table and identify what is the molar mass of carbon. It's also good that you memorize some of the important molar masses, some of the elements that are always asked, like the nonmetals and the first and second group of metals. So for carbon, the molar mass is 12.011 grams per mole. How about oxygen? As you can see in the periodic table, it's 15.999 grams per mole. The next step is, of course, to obtain the product. So it's 1 times 12.011, that would be 12.011 grams per mole. For oxygen, of course, you need to multiply it by 2 and you will gain a product of 31.998 grams per mole. Next step is to add the two values. Why? Because we are looking for the molar mass of your carbon dioxide. So technically, we're just solving for the total masses of every component of every element that is in the compound. So if you're going to add that value, those product that you have, that would be 44.009 grams per mole. That means that the molar mass of your carbon dioxide is equal to 44.009 grams per mole. Then please don't forget to box your final answer. Sorry, tabi niya. Okay, let's have another one. So we have here a question. What is the molar mass of your calcium chloride? So again, in your solution proper, you identify what are the elements involved in the compound. And in this case, we have calcium, and chlorine. Next step is to identify how many atoms are there. Calcium has 1 and chlorine has 2 atoms. Multiply them both by their respective molar masses. For calcium, kindly take a look at your periodic table. There you can see it's 40.078 grams per mole. Then for your chlorine, that is 35.45 grams per mole. Then next, obtain the product. There you will get 40.078 grams per mole. Then you have here 70.90 grams per mole. Then all you have to do is to add everything. Then you'll get 110.978 grams per mole. That means that your molar mass for your calcium chloride is equal to 110.978 grams per mole. Again, don't forget to box your final answer. So that is now the molar mass of your calcium chloride. Let's now have the last problem in this video. Okay, now what is the molar mass of your ammonium phosphate? This compound is a little bit difficult because as you can see, there are a lot of numbers involved. So, and you can also see that there's a parenthesis. So, baka medyo mahirapan kayo. What does it mean? So, let's discuss this one because you will encounter this a lot of times in the next chapters or in the next lessons that we will have. Again, same process din naman. In your solution, you identify what are the elements involved. So, you have nitrogen, hydrogen, phosphorus, and oxygen. Of course, write the equal sign and identify what are the number of atoms in each element. So as you can see, nitrogen here has 1. Hindi na natin siya sinulat. Just like in mathematics, you have x. Its exponent is actually 1, but we do not write it down. We do not write 1 na. Okay? Same in chemistry. Kapag walang nakalagay, okay, na subscript, that means 1 siya. So, you have 1. But, you have a 3 as a subscript sa kabuuan ng sodium phosphate, which is nanggaling kay phosphate ion. So, by doing crisscross, that means yung kabuuang ion, ammonium ion in this case, ay na-raise into 3. So, that means your nitrogen here should be multiplied to 3 because this 3 here is actually distributive in its property. So, you have N1 times 3, that would be 3. That means you have 3 atoms of your nitrogen. Next step is, of course, to identify hydrogen. Since you have 4 here and there's a distributive number of 3, you need to multiply it. So, 4 times 3, you will now have 12. Next step is to identify how many phosphorus atoms are there. As you can see, there's 1. Next, and the last but not the least, is your oxygen. If you're going to see the compound contains 4 oxygen atoms. Then, you multiply everything by the respective molar masses. For nitrogen, that is 14.007 grams per mole. For your hydrogen, that is 1.008 grams per mole. And for your phosphorus, you have 30.974 grams per mole. And for the last one, which is oxygen, it's 15.999 grams per mole. Then all you have to do is to add everything, to obtain all their products. Then you have now 42.021 grams per mole, 12.096 grams per mole. You have 30.974 grams per mole, 63.996 grams per mole. You add everything, then you will get 149.087 grams per mole. That means that the molar mass of your NH4 ammonium phosphate is equal to 149.087 grams per mole. And please don't forget to box your final answer. So that is the molar mass of your ammonium phosphate. So that would be the end, or that concludes our discussion or our first pre-recorded video that involves stoichiometry, discussing how are you going to compute for the molar mass. So I hope that you learned how to compute for the molar mass. If you want to practice yourself, there are a lot of practice worksheets and exercises in the internet. All you have to do is to search Google. Then there are some worksheets that will provide you with an answer and a solution. So if you want to practice yourself on how are you going to compute for molar masses, then you can do so. So this will be the end for our first pre-recorded video. See you in the next one. Goodbye, everyone.